Good, so the river of truth and freedom is back. So many memories, of course. Most are just amazing. For me, it was about unity of purpose and demonstrating the potential of humanity. And also, it was just a giant hug fest, wasn't it? And that's really what I've been looking forward to. Been missing those. So, don't hold back, everybody. Yeah, look, there was some niggling tensions around the stage and who controlled the mic, and you get that with human beings, and especially the freedom movement, because we're all strong, independent thinkers. We're more likely to be natural leaders, I guess, than followers, and we know our own minds. But you know what? That's the glorious complexity of being human. And we celebrated every facet of that. But more than anything else, we came here because our BS detectors had been screaming from the rooftops for some time before. And we thought we could communicate those concerns, not just for ourselves, but for everyone, to the people who are elected and paid to represent us. So I just want to talk a little bit about democracy, since we're supposedly we're seated at the crucible of it just here. Is it the best political system for humans? Who knows? I've always had a vague worry that, or a thought that probably some sort of really, really benign dictatorship, may be the best system for most people to thrive in. But it's got to be benign, and you've got to have controls and checks to spot easily and early when people turn rogue. So what is democracy? At its most basic, it's the voice of the majority. But isn't that mob rule? Isn't that the loudest voice that carries the day? And who are the loudest voices often? Are they the people that are the most afraid or the most greedy? So a proper democratic system has to respect the voices of the minorities too. And it has to try and work out what the will of the majority actually is. So underpinning democracy, we have our Bill of Rights, which really says it all. There's nothing else in there. It's a kind of Declaration of Independence and American Bill of Rights all rolled into one. But it has to be properly enshrined in our law. So it can't be trampled on the instructions of unelected private groups outside of New Zealand. It's really very simple. This is our country. We decide how we want it to be, from grassroots all the way to the top. So talking of codes, we have the Nuremberg Declaration. We have the UNESCO Declaration on Bioethics. We have the HDC Code, which I'm in deep doo-doo for essentially trying to uphold, as far as I could figure it. So running our democracy and sitting in there are our MPs. And they're supposed to represent us. And they're supposed to listen. But our government, which is made up of a number of MPs, didn't listen, certainly not to us, and apparently not to some of their own science advisors either. And I suspect there are a number of New Zealanders not here today, not alive, who would be, if the government had actually listened to some of its own advice. So I believe that most of these MPs are good people. But I think they were the wrong people at the wrong time. It seems that good people can be led to do very bad things. And in fact, history tells us that. People were led, they were tricked, they were threatened, cajoled, corrupted maybe. I don't know for sure. But we have to have an independent, public-facing inquiry and public-led inquiry into everything that has led up to the last 2 years. With everything on the table, nothing written out, and a mandate to go back as far as we need to in history to see where all this might have started. Now, I presume, never having been an MP, that there is some sort of oath or code of ethics that they are to be beholden to. And on the subject of ethics, while we're here and while we've got a speaker, a loudspeaker, I think we should just send a reminder to our MPs about some key golden rules and black lines, certainly in medicine, that you would never ever cross. Some of the people in there actually being doctors. So, Sean, can we just point the speaker a little bit? Okay, you guys in there. You never, ever, ever give an experimental genetic device to pregnant women or women of childbearing age and children. Ever, ever, ever. You think I got that? Should we shout it at them? After me. You never, ever, ever give an experimental genetic device to women of childbearing age and children.
Never, ever, ever.
Ever.
Go directly to jail! Do not pass go! Not fuck!
Doesn't need a microphone, that fella. So our work here is done, really. Birth rates plummeting around the world. Death rates rising. You know, we're all here for our own reasons. And I am now here today particularly for my son, who I worry may not, if he wishes to be, ever blessed with children. He may not find someone who's able to have kids. I don't know. The early signs are really, really bad. And I don't care who disagrees with me, and I don't care what happens to me for saying that. I'm speaking as a parent in this moment. So I have the highest authority that I can call on, other than the higher one, and that's for my responsibility to look after my kid. And I know, because I've spoken to so many people, it shouldn't need saying, should it? But apparently it does. We're told we must have faith in our government, that we shouldn't argue or undermine it, because people will be frightened of what they might be left with. But I remind you, for right or wrong, faith is an irrational belief in the absence of facts. Now, that doesn't mean that the things we have faith in don't exist. And faith and hope are the key qualities that keep us going in tough times. You know, if we didn't wake up every morning with a hope or even an expectation, if our faith is strong enough, that things could be better in the future than they are now, none of us would carry on. We wouldn't have a reason. But more important than faith, far more important, is the truth. And the truth will set us free. So yes, we want skilled and humane governance, as little of it as possible. We want freedom to live in our truth. And I know that many of us might be prepared to give our lives to that end. So I thank you all for coming today, and it is just so fantastic to see you all again. Thank you.